You know what lit the fires of the First Inquisition that raged from the Middle Ages through to the Renaissance. Perhaps an ancestor spoke in fear of those nights. Maybe you own texts chronicling those horrible times. Or you have designs on recreating them by turning the church against your enemies. Your knowledge of the Inquisition is such that you may have capacity to manipulate the Second Inquisition of tonight. Though their methods and some beliefs have changed, you know the best way to evade the group and how to turn them against your foes. Such actions do not come without risk, just as your ancestors who attempted the same feat discovered. So tonight we are looking at the Loresheet, the First Inquisition. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome to our World of Darkness, and this one is a lot of fun. There's a lot of risk taking this one, but the knowledge of the past informs what you can possibly do tonight. So what exactly can the kindred who are ballsy enough to utilize the church and their hunters capable of doing with this lore sheet? Let's take a look. Investing 1 dot into this lore sheet gets you mistakes of the past. You know kindred history and can cite chapter and verse of the domains and princes the Inquisition destroyed in its original incarnation. You can educate any vampire on the Inquisition's historic dangers. Once per story, you can ask the storyteller for one piece of information regarding the original Inquisition. This one opens a lot of just general knowledge to the player. The storyteller at that point can let them know where they attacked, who they attacked, how they attacked. This right here is going to bring up a lot of just knowledge of most likely how to avoid situations that happened back then. It can help, but those kindred who decide to use the Inquisition against their enemies are most likely to reap the benefits that their ancestors did when the Inquisition eventually turned on them as well. Investing 2 dots into this lore sheet gets you names of the guilty. Your knowledge of vampire and Inquisition relations extends to include kindred manipulators. Though most are dead by these nights, many of their descendants survive, and they are at risk of blackmail for their sire's treacheries. Once per story, you can ask the storyteller for the name of one descendant of these traitors in your domain, if there is one. This is a situation where I see logic and gameplay intersecting in negative ways. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of people out there who are playing these games with the mentality of you should not be punished by the sins of your father or those who come before you. And where I completely agree with that in real life, the Camarilla specifically, and even the Anarchs, are going to be guilty of looking at a newly embraced kindred and blaming them for the things that their sires did before them. That anger, that hate, that animosity, that hypocrisy is going to be there. Even if the kindred themselves who are blaming are also guilty of the same crimes, they are going to want to push that on the person who may not have anything to do with it. The vampire as a creature is a petty, selfish, and just jealous little thing. And that really does need to be kept in mind. And where the players might not play this out, the storyteller really should have the NPCs feel that. And I do my best to do that. I try to create some likable NPCs and some dislikable NPCs. But at the end of the day, they're all vampires. And at the end of the day, they're all going to do what's best for them, even if they're being short-sighted about their pettiness. Investing 3 dots into this lore sheet gets you the Sect of St. James. You have contacts who consider themselves Old Inquisitors. The Sectus Sancti Lacomi harbors a deep resentment for their fancy modern counterparts, acting with greater fanaticism and suicidal zeal than the more controlled Second Inquisition. Their abbey is a 4-dot contact, whom you can contact once per story. So what is it like to have inquisitors that are obsessed with doing things the old ways, to the point where they find the Second Inquisition detestable? I don't think that your character should let them in on the secret that you're a kindred. However, being a voice from within the Second Inquisition to utilize that contact the way that you need to might be the way to go about things. Either way, it's a very tricky way of looking at things. This is something that I have not personally, at the time of this recording, had to deal with in-game. But it's something that, as a storyteller, I look forward to. Investing 4 dots into this lore sheet gets you the Second Act. You have a contact within the Second Inquisition, or the local Catholic archdiocese. A file clerk, scout hunter, exorcist, armorer, etc. You have no power over them, but you know how to pump them for information, or prime them with disinformation, if need be. This is a dangerous thing to have on your sheet. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. You know somebody in the Second Inquisition, you know a church hunter, or somebody who works for the church hunters, that you can either feed information to or get information from. It's an interesting consideration. Again, this is not somebody that you would want them to know that you're kindred, but being able to feed them information about where your enemy's havens are, or point them at the local Elysium, or find out where they're going to be attacking so you can avoid. These are all definite benefits, but also the risk is just outlandish. Investing 5 dots into this lore sheet gets you Black Spot. You have identified a location within your domain that the Second Inquisition fears to tread. Once per story, you or anyone targeted by the Once per story, if you or anyone targeted by the Inquisition hides out at this location, the hunters call off the search. This anomaly seems to be a blessing, but it does throw up the question, what is so holy or unholy about this place that it deters the greatest threat to kindred tonight? The Black Spot is one of those lore sheet points that actually carries over into the LARP, and I do remember going over this one very recently, and it does bring up a lot of thought. Like, it's great that you have a location that you can go to once per story that will keep the Inquisition away from you or others that you choose to let utilize this place. But what the hell keeps the church hunters out of that location? Is it exceptionally holy that they think no one should go there? The holy of holies, as it were? Or is this a place of such unimaginable unholiness that the church hunters feel powerless to go there? Is this a place that the church hunters have already cleared and figured there's no way that they're gonna go? Maybe they put a ring of holy ground around the place, but screwed up the ritual and they think they succeeded. Who the hell knows? But for some reason, they don't go back. And I'm gonna go ahead and ask this. as a storyteller or a player, what would be the excuse you would come up with for doing this type of storyline? Why would they not want to go there? So overall, I quite enjoy the First Inquisition lore sheet. I think there's a lot of fun roleplay opportunities. The hunter vampire aspect that has come up and really overshadowed a lot of 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness in general is a lot of fun. Although I don't tend to use it as often as some others that I've seen. I tend to basically roll a die whenever my players do something that the hunters may find out about, and I build up a here comes trouble counter when it comes to like how the players play. But I am Voivode Maquette, and this has been a look at the lore sheet for the tabletop version of Vampire the Masquerade, the First Inquisition. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Good evening.